Greetings, greetings, greetings. Welcome to an evening in Cody, Wyoming. Well, we got 5G's kind of here. The internet sucks this time of year in Cody because every tourist going through Yellowstone Park is trying to figure out what they're going to do tomorrow and is on the internet. So, if you can see me, great. Questions, comments, words of encouragement, preferably no hateful stuff. That would be good. Thanks. So I'm not going to let Aiden weld these. I'm going to do them up tonight so he doesn't have to do them because I kind of want a nice weld on the front. Well, there you go. These are half done. I'll finish them up here in a minute and you can see what I'm doing here. But I want a pretty nice weld. I want a pretty nice weld on the front, and he is a fairly good welder, but old dirty horseshoes is not an easy thing to weld, especially for a beginner. So I'm doing some combination hooks. It's going to be, well, I'll go get one. On the bottom, hook on the bottom, hat rack on the top. That's what I'm working on. So that's actually an Aiden weld there, and he's doing pretty good. He's got to learn how to keep his stuff flat. I'm going to have to show him how to hold everything down so it doesn't, so he's not chasing it around. But these are the hat racks. I only sell these locally because they're too big to ship. They don't fit in my packages, so this is one of the things. You can only get these local. I do some others that have a stamped backplate on them. But these are one of those things that I only sell locally because they're just too big of a pain in the butt to ship them. 40 different kinds of horseshoes and none of them are the same. So one of the, hello. Oh, there's the hang hat on. What's the matter with you people? Do you not, if you're wearing a hat, which we all do out here in the West, you have to have a place to hang it. And that is what they're for. So, yeah. You see that? You want me to pull it a little forward so you can see what it is? Hat on the wall hook. It keeps the brim of your hat from touching the wall. Gravity helps the hat stay in shape. And it also kind of sheds the dirt and stuff, so it's, and they dry a lot better if they happen to get wet. So that's what I'm working on there, is hat racks. That's what I'm doing right now, but I'm doing ones with hooks on the bottom of them. And I'm doing ones that I only do locally. These are not something that I sell out on the Etsy store. I do make hat hooks, but I don't sell these ones on the Etsy store. I'm having Aiden do these ones because if he screws up the horseshoes, it ain't a big deal. That's the intern. So we're going to get him some practice in making hooks. That's what he worked on today. I think I got a video of him forging these hooks, and it isn't exactly easy because every one of these horseshoes is a little different. And so to try to get them all to look the same requires a little art. And so he's learning. He's coming along. I'm quite satisfied with what he's doing. As a matter of fact, if I could find another kid as good as him, I'd have a morning intern. So he's coming in for about 4 or 5 hours in the afternoon. If I could find me somebody to come in the mornings, I would do that. So, because he sure keeps me going. I have to keep working. I got to stay ahead of him. So yeah. So if anybody's got any questions, if you guys follow, this is the place where I will answer the questions for the channel. I think I would just passed 1,200 videos on the channel. I'm quickly rolling up on 117,000 subscribers, I think. It's 118,000 subscribers. So if you have questions about building, blacksmithing, self-employment, interns now, I am your guy. I've got a pretty good handle on all of that stuff, pretty much. about half the work on making these is the cleanup. Do you make the chandelier in the back? I did. My buddy Jeff Miller and I did that chandelier many years ago. The buffaloes actually, it's on a motor, and the buffaloes actually go around and around. If you go back and look at some of my old videos, you can find it. I've got old videos from years ago of it running and working. So, yes. You know, I've done some antler chandeliers. The antler chandeliers I do are not just straight antler chandeliers, because I hate drilling holes through antler to try to fish wire through. I did that when I was younger, back when I used to hunt a lot of horn. But my antler chandeliers are based. I use a metal base on them. So, well, this is not a paid position, I'm afraid. This is an internship. If you've got two certificates, why don't you make your own job? You don't need a job. You need an income. Go start your own job. If you're capable of doing that, you can go start your own job. You don't need to have a boss if you're motivated. I don't. My little welder will do TIG. I don't do TIG. TIG does not like dirty stuff. And I don't care who says that, but the good thing about this 7014 rod is I don't have to prep anything. I go in there, I throw them in the tumbler, and I weld it. We're doing hat racks. These are hat racks we're working on. So a TIG is just wasted on me, because everything I weld generally is either dirty horseshoes or been in the forge, and it's got a big old slick bunch of mill scale on it, forge scale. And so if you're going to weld it with a TIG, you got to grind off that, and then once you get it welded, then you got to put it back in the forge and re-black everything. And so the TIG is just wasted on me. Yeah, I used to do the railroad brake dresser knobs, but I decided that that blind tapping into those railroad spike dresser knobs they just weren't worth the money, and I couldn't compete with other guys on Etsy that were doing them, and so I quit doing the dresser rods. I have some examples of some here somewhere, but I quit doing them because they were just I couldn't compete. There was no money in it, and there's so many other things that I can build and not have to compete with everybody. He's liking it a lot. He is. And I don't mean this. I really don't mean this in a negative way. He might be just a little autistic, and it's fantastic. This is the perfect job for a kid like that, because he's kind of goal oriented, and he's focused on stuff. I mean, he's doing some good work. I don't know if you guys saw the videos that he did of that cross. When I showed him how to lay it out, he laid it out, got it even. Man, there's a lot of grown ass men that can't do that. So. Well, not in here because I don't want an employee. I've had employees in the past, and all I ended up doing when I had employees was making a living for somebody else, but it didn't improve my living at all. So I don't want to pay the insurance and I don't want to do that. So I'm not gonna. I'm gonna. Uh, here's here's how it works with Aiden. Because to get this education, as you guys all well know, to get the kind of education that I'm teaching here, and I'm giving away for free on the internet, on YouTube, you're going to pay big money for at a college. And here's what I know. So of course I'm friends with pipe fitters and everybody here in Cody. I got a good buddy of mine, Chuck, who owned a machine shop in town. He just sold it. He just retired. He said one of the reasons he retired was he was hiring kids out of the college, out of the local college, who could weld, but you know, in a 4-semester course, they couldn't learn how to fabricate. So they could read a tape measure, he could, you know, you could lay stuff out for them and they could weld it and it would be good. But when it came to doing fabrication or layout or any kind of design stuff, they had no idea. So in this shop, you're going to get that. You're going to learn how to weld. You're going to learn how to blacksmith. You're going to learn how to design. You're going to learn all that stuff. So, I've had 5 or 6 different people come in and apply for this internship that I was offering, and he's the first one. My son, who is a very hard worker and works 50 hours a week, did not want to come in and do this job. So he's driving an excavator. My 20-year-old son is driving an excavator for a big company running a gravel pit up here. He was like, he don't want to do it. So. Are they that fast that after years your eyeballs aren't cooked? So I'm 30. I've probably been welding for damn near 40 years. I started when I was like a freshman in high school, and we started without auto darkening helmets, but these helmets are so fast now, and of course they're all adjustable. This is about a $500 welding helmet now. So yeah, I've never had any trouble. Well, it depends. So here in Cody, a fab shop is doing a ton of shit. I do stuff that the fab shop sends me stuff because they can't forge. And so, and I don't, but I'm not doing any custom work anymore. So I'm doing very, very little custom work. So, Jeffrey Funk. I know there's a family of Funks around, but I don't know if I know him. Probably if I saw him, I wouldn't probably know him. I don't know. I am 53. And I started welding when I was 13, 12 or 13. We used to take ag class as a freshman. You would weld, and I was welding before I went to ag when I started freshman ag. So. Well, yeah, that's CNC has done that. CNC, but I worked in, I did a lot of fabrication. I worked for a guy and we did a lot of fabrication when I was in high school and after. We did a lot of mini buildings, tubing, mini buildings, did a lot of that work. We designed a 3-yard garbage container that was bear proof, and we fabricated those. I made a couple hundred of those. We did about 100 little buildings, 12 by 12 by 12, 12 by 14, 12 by 24 buildings. We did a lot of fabrication in the oil patch when I was younger. And then when I turned 18, I went to college and I went to be a farrier, and that's how I got into the blacksmithing, was being a farrier. I can TIG weld, but I don't have a TIG welder. In this shop, a TIG welder is just a waste. If I was doing bits and spurs, if that's all I was doing was bits and spurs, I'd be TIG welding. But I don't even use a wire feed in here because the wire feed doesn't work for doing what I'm doing. I use stick welder. Did you just say fishing rod holder? Somebody just said fishing rod holders. There's my fishing rod holders. That's my fishing rod holder. I do fishing rod holders. These are the gun racks I do. Only got one screw in that one, that's why it's floppy. I've never been certified. I've been self-employed for so long that I don't know that I might be at this point I might be unemployable because it's been so long since I've had a boss. It's been 30 years since I've had a boss, so. Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. My buddy next door's got a CNC machine, and I can't touch real guns on a live stream. You're not allowed to. The minute I would touch a gun on a live stream, they'd kick me off. So, and it's the same thing with all of the internet stuff, Facebook and everything. So I had him cut these out for me. So I could show those. So, but I was a carpenter too. I did some carpenter work years ago. Like that's what this is. This is the display cabinet, and then you can put the back. You don't have to be a great, and Aiden is already, I mean, he's 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks into this deal, and he's already selling stuff. He took that cross home, and of course all of his family oohed and awed it, and so he's probably going to have to be making more of those. So, now that he knows how to do them. What's the difference between in the cost of gas in the last 5 years? How much? I use all propane. My propane, I just bought propane. It was just shy of $4 a gallon, but we are in tourist season in Cody, Wyoming. And I used to buy, before COVID, I was paying $1.80 for it, so it's almost doubled. Aiden is 18 years old, and he's 18 years old, and he'll be a senior in high school next year. So I'm impressed with him. He's a pretty good kid. I mean, I'd give him the keys to the shop. That's where I'm at with him. He's been here 3 weeks, and I'd give him the keys to the shop. I wouldn't worry about him. I wouldn't worry about him blowing the shop or cutting. A lot. There's grown-ass men I wouldn't let in this shop by themselves, because they'd hurt themselves just walking through the shop. Well, I was welding. You just came in late, dumbass. Yeah, that he learned how, he was welding pretty good before he came in here. So he was taking ag education. Here in the West, in Wyoming, we still teach ag education. And so he was taking ag education and was welding in welding class. So, or welding in ag class. And that's something that they've been doing that forever. That since the 50s, they teach welding in agricultural education here. They've eliminated pretty much everything else. So there is no, when I graduated from high school in 1990, there was a mechanics, there was an automotive class. We had ag education. We had mechanics, auto mechanics, drafting, and computer-aided drafting, and all of that's gone now. I did not graduate from Cody. I graduated from Powell, which is about 25 miles up the road. So, and I have traveled around a bunch and been everywhere, but Indiana, if you get into rural Indiana, that's one of the big strongholds of the FFA. FFA is the Future Farmers of America. Future Farmers of America is the largest student-ran organization in the country. There's hundreds of thousands of members of the FFA. So, Yeah, it's a big deal. They've been trying to take it out of the curriculum here forever, which makes no sense to me. So the biggest expense of the school district in Cody, Wyoming, the biggest expense is athletics. Football, basketball, girls volleyball, because we are in a state that is 500 miles wide and 500 miles deep. It is a big square, and so every weekend these kids are putting 300 miles in on a weekend, driving back and forth to play basketball and stuff. So you got volleyball, swimming, track, football, basketball. And so all of that. It's huge. It's a huge thing here, and they've eliminated pretty much everything but the athletics, which is just totally backwards to me. But I'm not a sports fan, so I knew I wasn't going to make a living as a football player, so I didn't mess around with it. That's a great. It's good to see that. That's a good thing to see. Well, I mean that's just the way it is here. A lot of schools have gone to 4.5 days. Like I think Powell now, they do 4.5 days, and they're only allowed to travel on Friday. So there's no basketball games or anything scheduled during the week that they have to travel for. So all their travel day is Friday afternoon. They go from Friday and then they travel Friday afternoon, and it's 4 hours to pretty much everywhere here. It can be as much as 8 hours. So I'm a one-man show. I've been a one-man show since 1988. I've been a one-man show. I started fabricating and stuff in 1988. Apprenticed with a farrier, a horseshoer in 1989. Started college in 1990 and started shoeing horses. I wasn't even done with my first semester of farrier school, and I started shoeing horses. Yeah, 4 hours is nothing. It's 4 hours from Casper to Cody. But there's three school districts in Park County. So there's Cody, Powell, and Meeteetse. Meeteetse, I think their total school body is like less than 200 kids. Powell, the senior class right now, I think is about 120 or something like that. And then Cody's just a little bigger. They might have 130 kids graduating this year. Yes, absolutely. If you go to the right school. If you go to the right school. Because here's the thing. This is why Aiden is here, and the other people, the other 5 or 6 people that came in here to apprentice for me or to intern for me, didn't get the job. I would have spent a month teaching them how to weld. And that's why I did. That's why he got the job because he knew how to fire up the welder. He knew how to put the rod in the deal, in the stinger. You know, he knew that he had to prep his welds, and he knows how to use a running chipping hammer and a right. And that saved me a full month of teaching somebody, and he could start making money for himself right away. Because I can hand him some horseshoes, I can show him how to build something with some horseshoes, and he's off and running. Because I'm not paying him. His internship is the material is free, the gas is free, the welding rod, all the consumables is free. He works he's in here 4 or 5 hours a day, 5 days a week. He does a few hours of work for me every day, and then he gets to make stuff for himself and sell. And of course, I'm helping him. Right, I guarantee you right now, if he started a YouTube channel, he'd be 4 times more successful on his YouTube channel than I am. So he could start selling stuff on. He's started a whatnot page, and I guess he's going to start an Etsy store. But he's not in a big hurry to make money at it. So he wants to get a little stuff built up. Well, any kind of imagination now, you just go to Pinterest. You just copy what everybody else is doing. You know? I mean, I'm not the first person to build those Texas Star crosses. You know, I've never seen anybody do a forged, do these forged with the horse head back. This is kind of my idea. I mean, I do have some stuff that's original to me, but I mean, there's a ton of people out there making toilet paper holders. Mine are just a little different than everybody else's. If you see these, somebody's poaching them. Because as far as I know, there's some other designs of these. There's some guys that are 3D printing these and stuff. But as far as I know, there's nobody that's building this. And so if you see these, somebody's poaching from me. So, and then of course I do some bridle racks. Of course I do some pretty fancy wall hooks. And then I'm lucky enough to have a guy with a plasma cam right across the street from me. So I get him to cut out cutouts for me, and then I do the cutouts. But I do all forged hooks. So forged hook, and then I do some forged and fabricated hooks. This is a toilet paper holder with a tray on the top of it. You know, the funny thing about that is back in 8th grade, though, you probably got an education. I mean, they used to teach Latin in 8th grade, you know? I mean, you got real chemistry. You learned real chemistry, you know? Yeah, you can find these on the Etsy store. I actually made them for concealed carry. So when you go to the bathroom and you've got your pocket knife or your pistol, and you don't want to set it on the floor, you can put it on there. I think a lot of people use them for coffee cups and all kinds of stuff. A lot of people put them in the kitchen for a soap dish with a hand towel. All right, poacher. Poach away. If I was worried about you guys poaching, I wouldn't be showing you my stuff on YouTube. So it's just like these. It's just like these. There's 400 people building these steak turners, 400 people, and everybody does them a little different. I saw 3 videos this week of people, that's kind of how that works. I posted Aiden building these on the YouTube, and then of course it came up, 5 of them came up in my feed of people building them. So, whatever, it is what it is. I'm not too worried about it. I'll be dead before they catch up with me. Be fatty. You couldn't weld a fine bead if your life depended on it. Okay. You're right. I don't give a shit what your opinion is, man. I don't care what you think. I know I've got one of my best friends is a professional pipe fitter for 40 years, and he has a hell of a time with that weld. Yeah. Well, this is how old I was. I thought, well, if this blacksmithing thing doesn't turn out, I'd become an auctioneer. But that's kind of a dying thing now, isn't it? Nobody's doing auctioneering anymore. That's kind of a lost thing. The quality of welders. Like welders the machines or welders the people? Because I got to tell you, I do 100% of my welding in the shop with a 110 welder from ESOB that cost me $500, and I've probably run 500 pounds of welding rod through that little welder, and I am very happy with it. I wish that I could talk ESOB into sending me another one, because I would set Aiden up with his own little setup over here. Yeah. Not the people the career itself. Yeah, you just if they're kind of like welders are kind of like cowboys. You just don't see them from the road. There's a lot of them around. I mean, and it's going to be one of those things. That's going to be if manufacturing comes back to this country, you can't build a building. You can't build a building. You can't put in a pipe, a gas line, a water line without a welder. So it's coming back. If they get a little more of the manufacturing back in this country, it's coming back. There's going to be a lot of them. They're hunting for welders right now. They're building a nuclear power plant down in Kemmer, Wyoming, which is the southeast part of the state, and they're looking for welders right now. And all they're doing is the basic stuff right now. They're just putting in the infrastructure. Welding teacher in high school. His son is my best friend. His dad offered $10 to anyone that could weld overhead with 7024. 7024? 7024. Okay, whatever. As a hobby side gig. Hello. You know what, buddy? I'm just removing you. This is a happy space. We are not going to be a negative space around here. I'm not putting up with that. So all my material comes from, right now I'm getting it from a Pacific Steel, which is out of Billings. And about 99% of everything I get is bar stock. So it all comes in 20-foot lengths. So I use 1/8 inch by 3, 1/8 inch by 2, 1/8 inch by 1.5. And then I use 3/16 by 1. A lot of 1/4 inch round stock, 1/4 inch or 3/8 round stock, 1/2 inch square and round stock, and some kind of weird bar stock, little different kinds of bar stocks. Occasionally I'll use an 1/8 inch thick by 3.5. I use 1/8 inch thick by 3.5 for these. And the reason they're that size is because that's as wide as I can get in the power hammer. Yeah. Here, you know, I mean, here in Cody, it's becoming a retirement community, and so people who change oil in cars are highly needed. Small engine repair guys, they just closed the biggest small engine repair shop in town just closed down. There's nobody doing maintenance on saws. I still sharpen some blades for guys, but I've pretty much quit that, doing sharpening knives and blades and stuff, because I don't have time. The guy who used to sharpen knives is dead. He died, so we had a luthier in town that worked on guitars. You know, he did all maintenance on the guitars. He died, so there's nobody doing any luthier work here. There's some opportunities for people to, less than, I think it's like 2 or 3% of all the people in the United States are self-employed. It's a very few people that are self-employed. Yeah, the HVAC thing is really good here. That's probably a $80,000 a year job here in Cody. My son is he's like a number 2 or number 3 guy at a rock crushing facility here. They're crushing rock for asphalt and concrete and stuff. He spends most of his day running a loader, and he's making, I think he hasn't been there a year, he's making $26 or $27 an hour, but he's getting insurance and he's getting 401k. So it ain't bad for a beginning. And if he got really motivated, he could have a side hustle if he wanted to, but he's got a girlfriend, so she keeps him busy on his time off. So yeah, I guess I could put it down, whatever. You guys, why are you so worried about my welding helmet? Jesus Christ. What's the matter with you guys? There, does that make you happy? I was going to go back and weld, but everybody came in and started asking questions. This is the most questions I've answered on here in a long time. Oh, I guess I could put the welding gloves down too. So, and you can't see the logo. This one's been kind of washed off, but these welding hats, the reason I wear them is because their logo, they got my logo on them. Not too many guys around got logoed welding hats. And I'm not big into the scrunchy ones, but one size fits most, so. Everybody makes fun of Aiden, but he's got all that hair, and he gets that hair underneath that hat, and it's like, holy shit. Yeah. It ain't like it used to be. You know, when I busted out working, all the guys that I busted out with were my age or older. They were all World War II vets. I'm the last generation that worked with World War II vets. They were all 60, and those guys were vicious, man. If there was a lot of grease, put in lunch boxes and boots welded to the welding table, and there was a lot of heinous stuff that would get you fired today. There was stuff going on that would get you fired today. You had to have a thick skin, especially in an oil patch. You know, when I started working in an oil patch, everybody carried a gun, everybody carried a pocket knife, and you're not allowed to do any of that anymore. You're not allowed to have any of that stuff in the oil patch now. Well, you know, the sad part is I'm kind of becoming an old timer. I never thought I'd live long enough, but I've been in the workforce for damn near 40 years. I've been working. I was a professional farrier. I was a farrier and horse trainer for 25 years. I've been blacksmithing professionally for 15. And of course, I was blacksmithing when I was doing farrier work. So, yeah, I worked with the guy who taught me probably more than anybody. Was my uncle, my great uncle. He was my grandfather's brother, and he was on Wake Island. He was working for Morrison Knudsen Construction Company when Wake Island was bombed during World War II. And then the next guy who taught me was John Williams, and John Williams was a Korean War vet, and he was ornery. He was ornery. He was built like a fire hydrant. He was 5'4" and weighed 250 or 260 pounds, and he was like a hog. He was just thick like a hog and tough. I think that Aiden is, you know, his dad is a Iraqi war vet, so he's probably 10 years younger than me, and so I'm an old guy to him. Yeah. Well, look at me. I'm carrying an extra 10 pounds I should lose, but don't get old because it sucks. Don't get old because it sucks. Yeah, he was something. John was. So he just died. He was 90. He just died here this spring. 94. I think he was 94 this year. He died. He taught me so much. He taught me about rigging and taught me about cranes and we did everything, concrete work, and because we'd pull into this, they'd need a building in the middle of nowhere out in the middle of the oil patch, and we would just show up and do it all. We do everything. We do the concrete, we do everything. We did the electrical, we did the plumbing, everything. And a lot of times it was just him and me doing it. Yeah, I'm 53. I was born in 1971. And I had my first job, my dad had a ranch. We had horses. My dad and mom are horse trainers, and we had horses, so I was always doing that. But I took my first outside job when I was 13, and I've pretty much had a job since then, doing something or income. That's pretty amazing for one guy. Well, see, that was how a lot of people did that back in the day. You don't see that so much now because a lot of those big corporations, they change management, and when they change management, the insurance changes, the retirement changes, all that stuff, and so a lot of those guys, they don't like the system, and they switch and go to another shop because they can't, it's you're not in those kind of positions. It's not your hourly wage where you make your money. It's your retirement and your insurance for those guys. So. No, shit, no, you don't need no permits. And this is Wyoming, man. You don't need permits and licenses. The oil patch does what they want here. The only time I ever saw an inspector, we were building a natural gas plant down. No, it wasn't natural gas, it was hydrogen. And we had an inspector on that job because that hydrogen is explosive. But that's the only time I ever saw an inspector in all the years that I worked for John. I never saw any kind of inspector. It is my experience, those old guys, a lot of them, they got frustrated because they couldn't express themselves. They didn't have the vocabulary to express themselves. And that's just I mean, if you watch that video, I've had almost 1 million views on that video of Aiden. I asked him to do the same thing 3 ways, and he finally gets it. But a lot of people, they don't have the ability to do that. Yeah. Yeah, the whole Mormon thing really bugs me. That they just the temple. I never thought I'd ever see things I never thought I'd see in Cody, Wyoming was a Mormon temple. Well, for years and years, I was a horse trainer, and so I taught a lot of people how to ride horses, and probably a lot of that comes from that. So I kind of aged out on the riding colts thing. I don't really want to do it anymore because I'm just too old. I don't want, I'm too, it's too easy to get broke up. So I still ride I still start a few colts when I can, but I'm not making a living at it because it's too easy to get busted up, and then I don't have nobody to take care of me. So if I got busted up, I'd have to shut the blacksmith shop down and I'd starve to death. Thank you. Appreciate that. I think I'm probably next to Black Bear Forge, John Switzer. I think I'm probably second or third best blacksmithing channel on YouTube. Just my humble opinion. But I'm much more relatable and stuff. And I'm not a video editor. My stuff is all in the raw. If I'm posting videos, it's raw footage because I do not have time to be doing a bunch of video editing. I'm too busy making a living. So so I was talking about Aiden and his deal. And for him, it's kind of a sweetheart deal because I showed him how to sell the stuff and how to market the stuff and how to, and so the whole thing is if I have an employee, then you have to have insurance and health insurance and all of that stuff, and I do not want to do that. And so essentially he's in this shop working on his own. He helps keep the shop clean and he cuts some of my stuff for me, and in return I give him the stuff that he needs to do his projects that he can sell on his own deal. So that's how that works. And I wish I could find another one just like him to come in the morning and do what he does in the morning. I'd have this sucker. This place would be awesome if I had another. I've got a couple of really great projects I want to do for the channel if I can ever get the channel to pay. If I could ever get the YouTube channel to actually start paying a little money or get a couple of sponsorships. I've got a couple of projects. I want to do that would make some fantastic content. See, if you go back and look at the big anvil I built a big anvil that was this big, and it looks like a real anvil. I would really love to take that anvil and put an electric scooter underneath it. I've got the anvil. I want to build another power hammer. This one this one I built. I wore it out. I've just used it to death. I want to build another one. I've got an old 2002 Dodge pickup that I would like to make a hydro bed for. And instead of moving bales of hay, I want to have a portable blacksmithing shop that I could just back up and I could just put the blacksmithing shop off to do tutorials for the schools and stuff around. So I will never run out of ideas of new stuff to build. There's just too many good things to build that I'll never. Like I said, that's what I told Aiden. I go, if you can't come up with stuff to sell on your Etsy store, I could come up with enough products for you to fill an Etsy store. Because I've got about 40 products on my Etsy store now, and I took off about 20 because it was just too much. I couldn't do them all. Like I do two styles of drawer pulls. So I do two styles of drawer pulls. These are horseshoe ones, and I'm sure if you've been following, you've seen me do those. And then I do a twisted one. But I have about 5 different styles that I can make. And I just don't market them because I just don't want to have to do 5 of these and 6 of these and 8 of these. So I just do 2 kinds. You're going to Sundance on Wednesday? If I wasn't in Cody, I don't know that I'd be in Sundance, but I'd probably be over there somewhere in the Black Hills, maybe on the north of Newcastle, maybe. I don't know that I'd be in Sundance, but I don't like the freeway. But Hannah, maybe over to Hannah or somewhere, maybe. I like it over there. It's pretty over there. Different than Cody. They are quickly turning Cody into Park City, Utah, or Jackson Hole, and I just hate it. I just hate it. I hate what they're making Cody into. I hate it. I bet the volunteer fire department will be gone in the next 8 years. They're already they're building these huge buildings. These people are coming in here and building these 10,000, 12,000 square foot houses. And insurance companies will not insure those houses if you have a volunteer fire department. And so they're going to force the county they'll force the county to get a full-time fire department in here. I guarantee you that's coming. I'd lay money on that. So I'd love to go in the shop and show you, but if I move this camera inside the shop, the internet connection just goes to hell. So that's why I always do it out here. Any other questions? I do a lot of different stuff. I do a lot of knives. I used to make a lot of knives. I was the only knife maker in Cody, and now there's 5 knife makers in Cody, so I'm not going to compete with them. I just make other stuff. So I do some tomahawks. Here's 2 of my axes that I did. That's like a little camp axe. Here's one that I forged, my son and I forged. He's kind of a Viking guy. He wanted one with a beard on it. So there's two of them. Here's a warhammer I did last winter. Yeah, I've never been a big fan of Nebraska. I mean, I've been there, Scotts Bluff and places like that. I used to cowboy over there a little bit, but I've never wanted to live there. If I wasn't if I wasn't in Wyoming, I used to think I'd be in southern Colorado, down around Cortez or somewhere like that, but I wouldn't live in Colorado now. Yeah, I'm going to try to do at least one live a week to answer questions and everything. Now that the channel's getting a little more bigger, and I'll try to come on and answer questions for everybody that I can't answer in the comments. There's just too much questions in the comments, and some of the questions, it's clear that the people don't follow me, or else they'd have the answers to their questions, because when you're only doing a minute or 3-minute video, you can't get the whole thing all in one, and so you have to subscribe in order to see to see the whole process. So, yeah, I'm sure I'll be on. What I might do is I might just turn this back around for a few minutes and finish up my welding. I got a few more things I got to weld up. I might turn this around and just go grab the welder and just weld up a couple of more things. One more. All right, there we go. Those are done. More questions? Thanks you for subscribing. I appreciate that. I'm gonna lay out. I got to do this. I got to do this fancy freaking screen, and I got to lay this out. And, oh my goodness, it's gonna be a pain in the butt. I hate doing custom work. I hate it. And I've been putting this off and putting this off, and I just never should have taken this job. But I did. And so now I got to do it. So this is the big difference between a machinist and a blacksmith. You know, a machinist can duplicate 1,000 things, but you try to get them to make 50 things differently, and it blows their freaking mind. So there's the flowers, right? There's the flowers. There's the leaves, all different kinds of leaves. Here's the little twisty vine bit. I just use rivets. And if they don't want a rivet head on them, I use I just use round stock. I just anneal it out. Just use mild steel round stock. A lot of times what I'll use is a nail. I'll just use a 16 penny common nail. And then you just drill your hole to the diameter of the nail. That might be a little better. You guys can see me so I'm not so damn dark. There. Hey, that's almost human. Now I can show the flowers. And the leaves. If you followed me, you've watched me build this stuff. I've been working on this particular project for a couple of months. So that's a piece of square stock, key stock that's twisted, and it's difficult to work with because it's got a lot of carbon in it, and so it hardens back up. So you almost got to heat it up to bend it. You can't bend it cold very easy. So and of course, as you do these leaves, you do them in different sizes. Right, there's a 3/8 leaf, there's a 3/8 leaf, and there's a 1/2 inch leaf. So that's the difference in the amount of mass. That's the difference in the amount of mass between a 1/2 inch and a 3/8. Now, of course, you can bump that back. You can bump that material back and get more material in there. And I've been showing that on some of the videos. So flowers and leaves. Yeah, flowers and leaves. They're very popular. A lot of people don't want flames. I can't show it to you because it's dark out, but I would show you the door on my blacksmithing trailer. I've got flames on it. Keeps people from trying to break into it. So, any other questions? Anything about what I'm doing? About the power hammers? Anything about it? If not, I'm going to go back over there and I'm going to weld on some more horseshoes. My grandma in World War II. Riveter, yeah. You know, Detroit, Milwaukee, Cincinnati, Gary, even into Iowa. They built so much stuff back in the day. Davenport, Iowa was like the furniture capital of the world. They made so much furniture in Davenport, Iowa. And I don't think they make anything there now. Same thing with Detroit. It's just died. There's just nothing there. We've exported all of that stuff. There is so little steel manufacturing in the United States that if we, in the 80s when Birmingham Steel, U.S. Steel, they shut down, and they started building more steel in China and Japan and places, the engineers that were working at those places went over there and taught them how to build steel over there. Well, now all those guys are dead because they were all 50 and 60 years old 30 years ago. World War II vets, Korea and World War II vets, they're gone. So now, if we were going to get that manufacturing of steel and stuff back up to snuff in this country, you're almost going to have to get people who know how to build steel from China and Japan to come over here and teach us how to do it, because we don't have the expertise anymore. And that's happened in my lifetime. Yeah, but I got to tell you something. I get a kick out of everybody that comes on here and says, safety equipment, where's his face shield? Where's his gloves? Where's his... I go, have you watched a video of the guys in India doing the blacksmithing? Have you ever seen one of... They're wearing no shoes or sandals, shorts, no hearing protection, no eye protection, nothing. It just makes me cringe every time I watch one of those videos. Flip-flops or no shoes. They use their feet as vise. Some of those guys hold their work. They don't even have a vise. They hold their work in the freaking feet. It's insane. The biggest Cornish pump in America. Where was that Cornish pump? Do you know? It was in a mine someplace. It must have been in a mine in Nevada or somewhere. Yeah, scary. I just look at it and I go, dang, that's terrible. I hate it. I give all the kudos to them, though. Where do you find power hammers? There's 2 or 3 companies in the United States that are making them. The one that I have here, it's made in the United States here. I think they're made in Ohio now. They were made in Wisconsin for years and years. Most of the big ones you see are Chinese made. They're Anyang's. Most of the ones that you see, like if you're watching other blacksmithing stuff on YouTube, a lot of those machines, those big cyclical machines with internal compressors on them, most of those are Samyok's or something, and Anyang's. They're all made in China. But they have dealerships here in the United States. You can buy them here, but I'm not going to buy a Chinese-made power hammer. Mine's almost 20 years old, and it's still kicking along. It needs rebuilt pretty bad. Yeah, it's kind of scary. I was doing pretty dangerous stuff when I was a kid, riding colts and chariot horses and stuff, but nothing like that. Longest ski jump in America. Where are you? Park City, Utah? Isn't the longest ski jump? There's only 2 ski jumps in America. The one of them's in New York. What's that one in New York where the Olympics was? And then the other ski jump is in Park City where the Olympics was. Giant Pine Mountain. I'd smoke a cigar, but I'm out of cigars. Oh, I guess there is a ski jump. There used to be a ski jump in Sun Valley. I don't know that they have the ski jump there anymore. I know that I've passed that. I know that I've passed. What's the ski mountain there? What's the resort called? That's not in. Where is that? It's not Durango. It's not Telluride. Where the heck is it? What is the resort there? The ski resort. I guarantee I've been there and I've probably skied there. I just can't remember. Pine Mountain. What's the nearest town? Street. And so we skied everywhere. We went all places. I skied in Pennsylvania one time. It's a tricky little weld. You really got to get a lot of flow in that. You really got to hold your heat, and the good thing is you don't have to worry about burning it up too much. You can always go make another pass on it if you get undercut. Yeah, we'll move it back an inch. Maybe it'll quit lagging. Yeah, I'm down to 4 Gs now, bastards. So in here, Cody is the east entrance to Yellowstone National Park. So there's probably an extra 20,000 people in Cody right now, waiting to get into Yellowstone tomorrow. And of course everybody gets online and just the internet just goes to shit. Pardon my French. So that's why I kind of do this late at night. I don't try to do one of these during the day because it just doesn't work out. The internet just crashes. Well, if I got all the questions answered tonight, I guess I'll go. Yeah. Well, sorry about that. Well, if it's bad, I guess I'll just come back another night. Hello. Yeah, sometimes on in the day, sometimes I'm on in the night. Never know. Well, everybody, I guess I'll go back to my 100-year-old anvil and can you tell I'm just dragging? I do not want to lay this out. I just don't want to lay these damn screens out, and they got to be mirror image of each other. It's just such a pain in the butt. All right, everybody, have a great evening. Get hot and hit it. Always wear your safety squints. If you like the content, please subscribe. Please go watch some of my videos. If you're looking for stuff for your mom or your house, go visit the Etsy store. It's Cody Iron Works. You can just Google it. It comes right up. Aiden will be starting his store. Aiden, the intern, will be starting his store up here shortly, and he's going to have some stuff that I don't have, and we'll be showing that stuff on here because he's building it. I'm damn tickled to have him in here. It's working out. He's making me step up a little bit. So it's good. All right, everybody, have a great evening. Catch you on the next one.